27th day of September 2017 at the hour of 4 p.m. for consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the district on September 22nd, 2017 at 10 a.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551-041, 551-050. We do have the presence of a quorum. Present, we have member D. Wells, myself, S. Friedman, and R. Wells are present. Let me please have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Kneeling, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ, please thank you for this day, and let us have a good board meeting, and let us open our ears and just listen with wisdom, and we'll hear the truth. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you.
We have kneelers. No
kneelers. Item number 3, presentation and proposal from National Meter Badger Company meter program for the fiscal year 2017 through 2018. I'd like to welcome you and thank you for being here. Yes.
We have Chip Woods here representing Badger. He's going to go ahead and go over the products we have. And any questions that you all might have, he's the right person to go ahead and
It's very kind of you. Thank you for the introduction.
Thank you for joining us and being here today.
Let me ask you a question before you go
Yes,
on.
sir.
Chairman, to me it's really important that the staff are very involved with this, and I'd like to invite them to come on up here closer and where y'all can really hear it and participate. So get out of the comfortable chair.
This is a workshop.
It's a workshop.
This is a workshop, so this is a, ask and tell, and now's the time before we...
Yeah. With that spirit, and thank you for the opportunity. Again, my name is Chip Woods. I'm with Badger Meter, National Meter. Badger purchased National Meter a few years ago, and we're trying to rebrand Badger as National in the field, and I believe the reasons why. National has a great reputation in the western states as having a great product because they've been representing Badger for so many years, but excellent service, and so Badger wants to adopt that model where we have a distribution feel with distributor pricing, if you will. So I've been employed with Badger since I started 6 years ago, and so I just wanted to give you guys an explanation why it's national. You might see National Meter and Badger, but we are one and the same. Badger does own National Meters, so that if there was any confusions or questions regarding National and Badger, and I still have some myself, I wanted to clear those initially. But
so Badger parts fit in National Meters, vice versa.
Well, they're all Badger meters.
They're all Badger meters.
So I probably didn't do myself any favors by even mentioning any of this stuff. Just I would like you to kindly think as National as Badger, because Badger owns National. So if there was any, but it's all Badger.
If you would, we're recording this, so if you kind of just put that mic down where it's comfortable with you.
Can I take the mic with me? Because what I was going to ask is...
It's not a portable.
Is it? Okay.
Okay.
Given that we have a short time, I know that there's a presentation that I mailed, and I believe you hopefully have at least an electronic copy or maybe a paper copy of it. It talks about the history of the company, some snapshots of the system that we're proposing, and some of the products as far as the meters and the software and the limited hardware, which again is the meters and the technology. But I'd like to demonstrate the software live, and at least for a few minutes, and then use the rest of the time for questions, because I'm sure there's going to be several of them, and I also want to be respectful to your time as well as the group coming in behind me.
It's your show. Run with it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is what we call the Beacon software dashboard. I'm signed in, as you guys can see in the top right corner, Chip Woods. This might look different for Mr. Galvan and anyone else who has access to it. Unlike our traditional software licenses, they required licenses where Microsoft says you have to purchase 5 licenses at a time. Most of the software could only be housed on one server. With us hosting the software, we have the ability to have as many users as we want. And I'll click over to the users tab just to show in this demo we've got 191 users. There is not an extra charge for the number of users, and you can identify the user. The admin can give the user support, read-only, or admin access. But this dashboard is mine. Mr. Galvan's dashboard might look different. He might want each one of these windows is considered a module. He might want this module here, and he wants to know if there's gateway health. This gateway health window isn't really representative of you guys because our proposal is 100% for the AMI would be 100% cellular, meaning we would not require any vertical infrastructure, data collectors or gateways to manage the system. We would rely 100% on AT&T to manage their system and their infrastructure to allow any of the reads to come through. If for some reason something were to happen to an AT&T tower, that tower is likely going to be fixed a lot sooner than the utility and or whoever is managing the data collectors to go up and put up another one, whether it's lightning or hurricanes or otherwise. So we believe that using the cellular route gives us the most reliable network. And the hurricane, unfortunately, it's a really great example because I've got, we probably all know someone that was affected in Rockport or in that area. I had friends in Florida. They were without power, but we could text all day long. So their cellular network was up. Getting your reads is not that important, but it speaks to the strength of the cellular network versus purchasing and owning a network. And to that, purchasing and owning a network, a traditional AMI network, it is a purchase. If you now have this hardware, and we look at our cell phones and what those cell phones looked like 20 years ago, they were bag phones, and then they were big bricks. And then 10 years later, they became really tiny, and they had a little bit more functionality with maybe texting with alpha characters instead of a full QWERTY keyboard. Now we've got these little handheld computers, and they're going to probably look a lot different in another 10 years. Well, traditional fixed system that we've been selling for the last 20-something years is just that. It's a fixed system that you purchase, but it looks obsolete in years 11, 15, and certainly 20. So we believe in using the cell phone, not mantra, but just in thinking of how technology has advanced in the last 10 to 20 years using cell phones, we believe that we are leading this part of the water industry in smart metering with advanced metering and then analytics by leveraging the AT&T and or any other cellular network. But our network is the AT&T network. So back to this dashboard. So in this top left corner, it says flow health. This is telling me all the meters in the system. If there are any alarms or leaks or anything of note, the system's going to catch and it's going to put it here. So the 1,000 or so meters that we have in this portfolio, it's showing 125 leaks. Anything that has a gray arrow, I can click through. So if we want to go look at these 19 that have continuous flow, I can click here, and then it's going to bring me back to the second page. We were at a glance before, now we're at monitor. This is using Google Earth, and all of these are plotted. So when these installs happen, whether they're installed by Badger or one of our contractors or the city, each one of these would be geolocated, hopefully with a Latin long, if nothing else, an address. But plugging in the address would then put these on the map.
Because right now we already have all our meters pretty much in a GIS database,
Mhm.
so you could take that
Yes.
tables we have and...
So whether it's us or the kind folks outside or really anyone else you went with, there's going to be a new interface file that'll have all that data that need to be transferred over. I believe you guys use Encode for
Yeah.
your billing system, so all that data would be then coordinated through there. And so, yeah, it would come up, and that would certainly help in these efforts. And so if we wanted to look at this, so this is the map view, which will help the guys in the field identify where those are at. We wanted to look at what this means graphically as far as consumption. We can look at here. This is showing it by day. Let's, if we went over to, say, March, it looks like it has the most consumption. I can double click on March, and this is giving me the daily consumption in March for this group of meters. And if I wanted to look at what anomalies there might have been that month, I can go over here and click on the more options. And let's look at the average temperature and see if there's any precipitation. And so on in these days, if I click here, let's click on this one. This day looks like there's a lot of rain. Should be. Here we go. So here's the hourly consumption for that day. Since we launched this site,
For that group of meters or an individual meter?
this is for that group of meters on that particular day.
Thank you.
So it's a good question. Thank you for asking. So if I wanted to drill down and look at that group of meters, let's say we just wanted to look at these 3 6-inch meters. So I've got the consumption of those 3 6-inch meters. If I was thinking maybe we want to see if these are sized appropriately, or I wanted to be notified or have someone else notified of these meters, I can come down here and edit the alerts for them. And I can say, okay, for continuous flow for any of these meters, I want to know if it exceeds 20 or 2,000 gallons an hour or less than 1,000 gallons. But I can adjust these parameters to show the minimum flow and the maximum flow that should be allowed for a 6-inch meter. And if let's say these were them, we click through and I want to add myself on here. So I can add my email. I can add as many emails as I want, and I can also add cell phone. So this way, whenever these alerts come, these folks, whoever's listed here and however it's listed, whether it's a text or an email, they'll get these messages and with whatever frequency. And then you can start or stop these reminders. And this will allow you to identify leaks in the field. Not only identify, because that's going to be identified in the dashboard, the first page we were on, but it's going to let very, I would say not proactive, it's reactive to something that's happening, but it's instant. Once the system flags that this is happening, those alerts are going to go out. In addition to, they're going to show up on the dashboard. And so if we were to go back to...
Can the customers also receive these notes and alerts also?
Customers?
Yes.
Only
If they're signed up.
If they've signed up. And they'll have access, so let's say they're, if I want to look at this particular account. See this star right here? I know you're looking at it. There's a little star right here. I click on that, and that's going to move this account over to another window or module in that first step, or the first page at a glance, and now it's going to show up in a window that's got my favorites. But if I look at here, there's going to be an account, meter ID, but there's likely an account number. I think it's this location number here. This account number is an account number that y'all give. When the customers go to sign up, they'll have that account number, plus an email address, if they have one, to sign up, and they'll be able to get access just to their meter, and then they'll also be able to sign up for an app. So there's an app for it. So,
Additional charge for the app,
no,
for the customer?
no, it's all included in any of the AMI cellular. You know, what I was stumbling with before, not really stumbling, that's how I talk that. I just joked earlier, English is my second language, I learned first, but if we clicked on one of these days, so on the 8th, this is hours. This is the 8 o'clock hour, sorry. So this is showing hourly consumption with the system that we propose is our next generation LTE endpoint that's using LTE technology. The warranty is still 10 years, but instead of hourly data, you're getting 15-minute interval data. So this graph will look, you'll have 4 times as much data because it's coming in the same intervals that you're seeing it, but it'll be 15-minute interval data. So much more granular with the LTE technology. You will not have a blend of old CDMA technology and LTE. It'll all be LTE technology with our new second generation endpoints. And then you can, with the software, it's so powerful, you can go and sort through this information however you want. You can look up all 2-inch meters and run these same reports. You can look at them by route. It's pretty powerful. If I go back to the at-a-glance dashboard, this is the part I like. So I'm scrolling down further. I mentioned I clicked on the one that's favorites. So here's the one account that I clicked on that's favorites, so now that's my favorite. But we're already going to rank the top 25 accounts by consumption, and so this work's done for you. And you know, I just set up this account for you guys, so I don't have any more favorites in here. Scrolling down, you also have the ability to contact us, whether it's yes or no.
Sorry to interrupt. Mr. Smith called in customer service. I got my bill. I want to know why. Why was it so high? When did I have it? So maybe instead of looking at a group of meters, you can show us Mr. Smith's meter for any given time.
Or Mr. Smith had the ability to log on
Or
and view his independent
Yeah,
account.
but right now they're going to call in like they're doing now, customer
Before
service.
Mr. Smith knew about it, he's going to call in. And
He got the bill last week,
right.
and that bill is 6 weeks old of the consumption, so we're having to go back now in the field and do a whole different process, and we're excited to see something that can take and help Mr. Smith understand why his wife left the faucet on too long.
Right.
Like a credit card statement online, basically.
Or a review.
They're little cash registers.
Or a review of when and what that happened. What I'm understanding is that, you know, with these programs, I'm hoping that we can go in and look at Friday in question and kind of look at, well, here was a spike, and this is what happened when you left the toilet running.
Right.
So is there anything that you can show us, or am I getting too specific?
No, not at all. So we can click on, let's say Mr. Smith owned this Lobox company. And I can search.
You may
Mr.
not
Smith.
have to show us, but make sure that we know that we can answer Mr. Smith when he calls in.
Absolutely.
Is there something available where before he even gets a bill, you know, like an alert that, Mr. Smith is, consumption is going up and up and up, you know, like not normal, abnormal, like a lot of water consumption?
Not until he signed up for this. So, but
No,
once
I'm saying for us.
But we get, don't we?
We'll
We'll get the alert,
yeah,
don't we?
just
Like
for
the very
us.
next day when we come into
You know,
the
like
office.
say,
Yeah.
an alarm that he has a leak somewhere, you know, like that particular
Right.
day.
So on this page, on the first page at the at-a-glance, this is going to show you have 125 leaks. You'll know,
And those parameters are set by us to determine what we consider a leak or continuous flow or something.
Actually, the leak, those parameters are set by us. The leak is defined as any usage over a 24-hour period. So if it's got usage for a 24-hour period, it's going to flag it for it.
Can we see during that 24-hour period that there was a flow?
Yes.
So that
So-
when they say, well, I wasn't even there, and we say, okay, somebody left the toilet on,
Right.
flowing for this whole period of time, so it takes that question out.
We did the entire system in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and similar to here, there's a lot of vacationers and where they have second homes. Well, we installed the new meter in October, shut the water off, and then in December, actually in January, someone noticed that, there was water frozen coming out of the second story. And so they called and said, you guys messed up when y'all did the install. And so we went back and looked at the data, and the meter was off. And then December 15th, you could see there was some consumption. Well, that was the day the realtor showed up to turn the water on, show the house, and then left and didn't turn the water back off. And then there was a busted pipe, a couple, 3 weeks later, and then the flow was coming out of the second story and then frozen. So it's a pretty damning yet neat picture which illustrates the power of this. And so had that customer had the alarm, they would have known, hey, I'm seeing consumption here the next day. The utility may have missed it because they didn't send someone out to go check on the leak, but it shows that leak.
But
and all others right
But the
here.
utility had the capacity to review this program and see when that flow was. To answer the question you just identified with, the moral of the story is, you can go back and look at any
Absolutely.
125 weeks or something you said?
Well, the data will go back, the endpoint holds 42 days. So highly unlikely that something's going to prevent that endpoint from communicating for 42 days. But the software will hold the information for,
From install.
it can be perpetual.
This is from install, basically.
Who monitors it on our end?
Pardon me, sir?
Who monitors it on our end? Is it something, we have like one person that's checking every day, or?
Well, you could, I mean, you could have, someone that checks leaks, or if there are really important customers, you might have those crews set up to notify a certain group of people when there's a leak. They're gonna get a text message,
Would that,
but anyone that logs in will have, and again, this flow health can be anywhere.
would that be the flow threshold that you discussed earlier? That would,
That'll just be any usage for 24-hour period. It'll
but you
show
said a
up
high and a low.
The high and low is the...
Theoretically, that high and low could be set for a group of meters or a meter.
Correct.
So then that gives you your alert.
That gives you your alert, and also it helps you with sizing.
Well, what I was talking about is that we do have that in place, that it's for all the meters, not just a certain section of meters. We want all the meters to be in there and give us an alarm, like say, like right now, if the alarm goes off, and we have a water leak at this address, section, subdivision, whatever it is, or...
Right, so every morning,
Or account.
every morning,
Save a lot of water.
every unit that's in the system that's...
Yeah.
So we have to wait like every morning to see any alarms that happen at night? Or...
Well, no, if you have it set up to where you want to be notified, you'll get the alarm. Usually the system will communicate when the network's not slow, when there's lack of usage, so middle of the night. With the LT, we're seeing that it's communicating once or twice a day. And we're guaranteeing once, but it's once or twice a day, so you're getting potentially information that's within the last 12 hours. That's my 5-minute left mark.
And in 5 minutes then, so can you tell us a little bit how this would take, I got the gist of how the software would work, but yet, can you give us some information on how this would work with our existing meters, or if we have to have new meters, and how that would all work?
You don't, that's why, if I take the Badger blinders off, that's why I still feel like we're the best fit, because not only do we make a great product, but this is so flexible, if you will. Any of your assets that are in the ground, so meters that are in the ground can be retrofit with the technology, so you don't have to yank that investment like some of these large meters. And you guys have been a great loyal customer of ours, and we're very appreciative. We love to sell you all brand new meters as anyone else would, but it's not necessary. We believe that the majority of them are still very accurate, so you can use those assets, and because we don't require infrastructure, you don't have to put them all in one area just to put up a data collector. You can put one at the north side of the island, and then go to the golf course and put another one there, and you can sprinkle them. And you can do as few or as many as you want.
No issues with interference from tall buildings, et cetera, so, it's just a matter of putting up I'm gonna call repeater antennas for the cell service, something like that?
No, sir.
So essentially, my terms, we've got the horse. We're looking for a saddle that fits, that gives us a better ride. And so that's my question on the existing meters, that your AMI system, if I'm correctly describing it, would take and work with our existing meters. Just take up our drive-by readers now and install the remote readers.
Not only will they, but the software is designed as such that the software will work with your existing meters as well. So, again, one of the other, what I believe are many benefits to staying with Badger is you've already invested in the software. So adding the cellular endpoints is...
We got the software already with Badger that you're showing us now. So
we have not trained for it yet, but yes.
Okay, we would, but then, sorry guys.
No,
So you would take, and we've got the meters out there now, and we have a reading system on them, a drive-by system. So that could be taken off, and the new AMI or the remote reader would be installed simply, no problem. And then they can be set up to where they're going to take and interact and transmit with through the cellular service, and then that would take in turn communicate with the district here and the software that it can do everything you were showing us.
Yes, sir.
And this would include also the leak for the distribution system detection?
It could. So it would work with logs or some of the third party. If you have a master meter that's serving an area, if you had an endpoint on there, you would be able to detect that. But for
you would have to buy something else in order to get it.
Another question, if we were talking, so we have Badger meters now, and they're 20-year meters, but yet, they have to be replaced and updated and all that. So regardless of the age, this reader will interact with the internal components of the meter, and if they don't, you're going to fix that, so they will communicate with this device?
Well, the Badger meters that you have in the ground will work with this technology.
We have
software technology.
The software, yeah, but we have a little concern. We've had some troubles, I've been told, with Badger meters, and we'll get into it now, some service deficiency of Badger meters. And so much as anything, we want to fix that along with everything else. And that's why I'm asking you now, if we go to this new reader system, it will work with our old meters and our new meters, and if our old meters need to have some sprucing up, are you going to work with us to do that where it works? It's been reported to me that we have a lot, thousands of meters that are not reporting accurately.
There's a lot there, so yes, absolutely we would work with our proposal response to this request was that we suggested that if it was within the last 7 years, then we would suggest leaving it in the ground. Unless it tested inaccurate, and from my limited discussion or any discussion, I would say, regarding any meter testing, it's all been really good, well above the AWWA standards. I don't know, I don't want to make assumptions that the AWWA standards are the same as the board or the district standards, but they've been all above board to my knowledge. The few that have, absolutely were willing to.
So you're saying 7 years and younger, you can work with. Anything over, you want us to replace?
I don't think you even have to replace the older ones. We just had to make, we had to make a decision on our response and the reports that we got.
What I understand is that the meter itself, the component, the housing, that component is a 20-year guarantee, but the other
Expected
software,
life.
the transmitter part is the one that's already like a 10-year.
10 plus 10.
Okay, so we're gonna get rid of those.
Right, that's what the
And we're
problem
just-
right now that I hear that's happening is the transmitter batteries are going out.
So we can put the new saddle on, that's got the new lifetime, new performance, and working with the existing things. So you're saying that the Badger meters would still, within normal expectations, give us the life that will work with the new remote readers.
Yes.
I think essentially what, like you said, on your term, that they're putting a more comfortable saddle on the horse now.
On an old horse, right?
On an old horse.
Yeah.
But.
That's the best kind.
Like the air conditioners. I mean, they're designed for 10 years and you only get 5 years out of them. I mean, the environment is very hard on the.
Yeah, but these are brass housings, correct?
But the
Yeah, but
components,
the-
the
But the
components.
internal starts, so,
You know, they can know that, the leaders, regardless because of age, you know, they're gonna lose some sort of accuracy, so they can be aware that we may need a bigger investment because of that, right?
Well, yeah, and
Mhm.
that's why we identified the 7-year mark. I think they
I
were.
think that's on the proposal, you say 5 years.
Five?
Older than 5 years, yes, yeah, you
Okay.
recommended, up to 5 years, keep with the 5 years older.
So what they're saying here is that we purchased a few meters
Yeah.
in the past 5 years, those are compatible with the new.
yeah, but what she's saying, and we don't know that the internal mechanisms within those, with just a spinning wheel, is gonna take and have different life that we can't identify here today, but yet we're not ready to throw that one out. I'm not ready to throw that out until we identify, here's my question, and we put the new meter reader on this piece of old meter, and somewhere we're able to monitor that we've got an internal problem, it's not reading right, then they would go to that meter to figure out if it's internal problem and what needs to be done. Am I correct?
Yes.
And
And again, to reiterate, that's our recommendation as well, to not change out anything you don't have. Again, we'd love to back up the truck and sell you anything.
But they should be, I mean, if you put in the hardware and the software, when you put the software component on there, they should be tested and accurately, and then on to the next. I mean, each individual meter should be tested, updated with the software component, and then
But
move on to the next.
that's all external component is
Right.
separate from the meter itself, the body of the meter, and it's just
Right.
gonna be reading that. So if there's a conflict or an issue within the reading that we're getting here, then you go and look at, you have an internal issue with the meter and make the
Physical
decision.
meter.
Physical meter, thank
Yes.
you. At that time, you make the decision of what to do with it.
But, and what I understand is that they've been testing meters, they test them manually out there, you know, get a bucket or whatever the machine is, and test the meters, the majority are accurate. It's normally, the transmitter
That's
or
different.
something else
That's
that's coming up
story.
with that problem.
They
Yes,
meter-
I got a question. What percentage of the meters
Keyword
out
story.
there, are fault or recording fault?
We're getting them in as we go. It's increasing.
We have,
And of course, I'm sure that depends on the life.
Yes, yeah, and when they were installed.
So do we have that documentation? You have that recorded, what meters are, at least we have a general idea of what percentage of the meters out there are failing.
But
Yes.
we're talking about the meters that are.
we have about 25 to 30%
Yeah,
of all the
well, we have to
meters.
give you the time.
You know, those meters, the problem is that sometimes, are not picking up the right reading, even though the meter is testing correct.
But the reason I asked the question is because my gut feeling is that if we put a new transmitter on a 15-year-old meter, we might still have the same issue.
For majority, I apologize if I'm speaking on behalf of you guys, I believe majority, and I would say it's probably a high 90%, majority of the failures are because the battery in the endpoint is failing, and so that's where the read not coming in. Is this accurate?
Yes, the data is not being sent.
And the batteries are not something we can just go in and replace, and
No,
that
they are not,
comes
no.
with the transmitter?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where are these transmitters located?
On the housing, on the housing of the.
Yeah, they're on top of the meter.
They're on top of
You
the
just
Now,
change them
now
out.
they are. We have the older ones that have the water connection, and
There's one right in front of you.
Change it up.
Hold up.
If I may say, we kind of need to wind down because we need to give equal time to presentation B. I mean, no disrespect, I mean, everyone, because party B will reserve equal time also, so.
Absolutely.
Just so that you know, we play that way. I want to wrap it up though, if staff has some issues or questions or something we want to bring forward in closing this up before we move to presentation B.
Question, comments, or any concerns with battery meters? Any? I think we covered just about everything. The only the problems and issues are the transmitter.
I'll bring up one old touchy issue I've heard several times, and it's to staff. We've had issues with Badger meters, and my understanding is that that's being resolved, and let me clarify that, primarily with the larger meters. Am I correct, Joel?
the low side registers on the larger meters are the ones that record more water usage. So those are the ones that are having more issues. And for the most part, correct, Sandra? The low side register. So, but we test those, and they're testing good. I mean.
Okay, so how's your service on taking care of those? I'm asking you if we need a new horse. Okay, to keep it in my terms. Horse still working down.
The service, we need a new system out there as far as, so we can address them a lot quicker than what we are now.
But I'm talking about as far as the product by Badger/National. You're okay with that?
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Do you mean your horse in your saddle? That's my question.
Okay, we need to kind of wind it down, and I sincerely appreciate your representation of National Badger meter and presentation.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for the opportunity, and everyone knows how to get a hold of us.
This is Ferguson. These were basically the lowest meters, the lowest than the previous one, and they're gonna offer their services, and they're gonna, put everything.
Based on the service we proposed, but not based on what we're going to ask on the final proposal.
Go ahead.
My name is Karen Ellis. I'm with Ferguson Meter and Automation Group. This is Ron Warren. He's our sales manager
Hello.
for the same group. We want to say thank you for having us today. We're very excited for the opportunity, and we think that we're bringing you what we feel according to what we've gathered from staff. And I've watched a lot of your videos of this same scenario of the challenges that you guys are facing within the district and things that are going on. So I feel like we're giving you the best solutions that we can offer you to get you where you want to be in your metering system and going forward in the future. We know we only have 30 minutes. So
40.
Oh, we have 40? Oh, okay, awesome. We've cut this down. We only have 3 slides, and we have a software demo. We really want to make this an open conversation. We know that you guys have a lot of questions and some concerns and need some information on certain things, and we want to be able to address those within that 40 minutes. So we tried to make it what we felt you needed or we wanted you to see, and then we want to have an interaction with you as we go through. So any questions you have or anything that you want to ask, please do so at any time.
Yeah, it's very informal, so the more interaction and engagement that we can have, we will be speaking to topics that are important to you. So please, you can interject at any time, and we'll field any questions or comments that you have.
May I jump in here real quick from
Absolutely.
my standpoint?
Doyle?
I am, yes, sir, thank you.
Doyle, how are
And
you?
I've met these folks before in a short, little time I had with them when they were presenting
I
to
have
staff.
not met you, it's a pleasure.
Thank you. I would like to know, we would like to know what time it is. Don't build us a watch. Don't spend a whole lot of time, I'm saying, on the software, how to do that. I'd sure like to know how it works.
Yep.
But at the same time, I want to get the nuts and the bolts of how it can really work in our equipment or what we need there.
Okay, so right now, the presentation is set up to talk about the people, which is one of the largest assets. Our best asset is our people, and I'm sure it is for you as well. And then we're going to go into a little bit about the system, kind of give you a 50,000-mile overview of the system that we propose. And then finally, if you want to see a demo of how the end-user portal looks and how interactive it is for your constituents, then we'll be happy to share that with you through Fred. And then if there are specific questions, Doyle, please, if you want to ask us a question on something specific, then Karen and I, Matt and Fred will all be happy to stop what we're trying to present to you and certainly answer your questions. So we worked it out, we rehearsed, we probably got about 25 minutes worth of material, and then we'll have as much time as you need.
I'll be quiet, rip on.
If we touch on something that you have a question on, feel free to stop us at any time. We want to make sure that we're addressing what you have concerns about. So I wanted to start off with, we really feel that we can, we know that we can form a partnership with your utility that you can trust. And that's why I have the group I brought here today. I wanted you guys to get to know us. I have our local branch representatives. I have Corey Ivy, who's our general manager for the Valley area. I have Ricardo and Frank, who have been working with your utility for quite some time on the waterworks repair side and that kind of services, so they know a lot of your staff and work with them at all times. We also, when we go into a project, we stock local inventory. So not only do we make sure that we have the inventory that you need for your project locally, we make sure that we have it at our depots, which are located we have one in Texas. So we have product available to you when you need it. So that's something that we commit to and something that we feel is a big customer service side of the part that
So you have local representation here in the Valley or just within Texas? And you have local inventory within Texas?
At a mission store.
In Mission Store, all right. So we need it, we get it.
And as we understand your buying habits, we're more prepared to have those items available for you. And we certainly...
Rather than us stocking it, you're going to stock it for us.
Certainly could do that, absolutely.
Thank you.
So myself and Ron, as I said, we're with the AMI specialist team. I'm in this area a lot. This is my area that I cover. I've worked with your staff for quite some time on the project and helping them to research it and get some items that they were looking for. So I've made a commitment. I think you have a wonderful staff and they're great to work with, and I've made a commitment to make sure that I bring you the best customer service I can, because that's what Ferguson stands for. And then we also have our manufacturer rep here from Mueller. We have Matt Thomas and Fred, who are from Mueller, who actually produces the meter, and they also have support centers and service that you can rely on too. With the system and the things that we bring to our projects, I feel like that we definitely did our due diligence on the RFP. We sent our installation down to work with Joel and do an on-site survey. We took pictures. We noticed that you have a vault that needs to be replaced. We worked on that. We got pricing to get our RFP for that. So we really worked hard to bring you a solution that we felt was the best solution for you to offer your customers, but at the same time, being the lowest bidder and giving you the most cost-efficient system was good.
We did spend a great amount of time observing, working with your staff for one of the main purposes to be able to generate a proposal at the RFP phase that kind of met the criteria that we felt like Laguna had offered out in the RFP. So we worked very hard to meet those conditions. Joel, sounds like we may learn some new conditions or some things that we should consider, and we look forward to discussing those as well.
In my short time I had with them, I was impressed with the fact that they are reaching out to the district and say, we want to know what your issues are, what your problems are, how we can work directly and closely with you, the district, to, meet your needs. Please leave us some time at the end of this so you can tell us how we're going to save enough money to pay for it.
And we'll try to do that.
So I kind of want to go into what we talked about. We're going to give you that, overview of what we're offering as our metering solution system. As we go through this again, if I touch on something, any questions on things, just ask us at any time. So, what our system looks like. Get everything in here. So, within our system, we have, again, we talked about being a consumer portal. So it's a portal that your customers can use to help manage their own accounts. And we'll get into that a little bit better, but it has some great features like setting budgets and sending them alerts, and then being able to let you know if they have a leak and those type of things.
It even allows prepay opportunities if the utility ever wanted to do some of those.
Beats postage.
We also use the LARA network. What that is a low-range, low-power network. So when you're in a battery situation, that's very important. You get a longer range for your signal to go back to the office, but you also are using the lower power, so your battery life remains the same as it should be through your warranty.
Yeah, we say 20 years, and one of the reasons that we, and maybe a few others can do that, is from a low power position out to the transmitter so that we meet your collector needs and get that.
20 years what, of the battery life that's going to send this, or
the transmitter has a 20-year warranty. 10 years full replacement, which is kind of an industry standard, with 10 years started in a proration environment. So at year 15, you may get 50%, versus at year 9, you get 100%.
Even with the heating environment that we're in,
Yeah, they are
corrosion.
Tested, and we try to recreate some of those circumstances as best as you can in a engineering environment. But there's been a lot of R&D, a lot of effort and testing done to try to make sure that these transmitters and the system, quite frankly, will last 20 years. The reality is technology moves rapidly. So I would expect us as a group 12 years, 15 years from now, when the system's already paid for, looking at what new technologies might be able to help you guys.
Well, we got 10 years.
Bumper to bumper.
Okay. We can bank on
Right.
that. We
That's
can
right.
bank on that, and then
Yes,
prorate
sir.
beyond that.
And then in that, we look at new technologies, and maybe something's better, maybe it's not. We keep
It will
rocking
be.
on with what we got.
It will be.
Well, that's the great thing about the LARA technology and we use a true two-way radio. So with that true two-way radio, we have the ability to talk to the radio and do firmware upgrades. So as technology changes and grows, we have the ability to upgrade that radio and move you along with technology without you having to change it. Yep. Without you having to change anything in the ground. So it's,
I have one here,
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
want to see what it looks
So your labor pool would not be required to go out and do any firmware upgrades because we're able to do it over the network.
Go both ways.
Yes, sir.
So just like I upgrade
There is
operating system, that you just do that automatically?
Yeah,
It's done automatically.
it
Cool.
is. Usually you just get notified that we're done.
Thank you.
So it's an open architecture system, so that other verticals can be brought onto the system through that open architecture, and you can continue to grow as technology changes, because we all know that it will as time goes on.
And that's a very important piece, because not all the systems allow you to do other things under the network. Most systems allow you to get a meter reading and some alarms. You got possible leaks and all that. The MyNet system is open architecture in the event that if we created pressure monitoring devices, it could hang under the network, so now you're getting meter reading. You could be getting leak detection, which we're going to talk about. You might get pressure monitoring all under one network. there are not many, if any, networks right now in our industry that allow you to do that. You can hang a network and read meters, but what else can you hang under that network?
Explain hang a network.
Okay, so right now, if we deploy our transmitter, we're going to read it through a collector-based system, and we're going to see it back at your billing office. We could use that same technology to put pressure monitoring devices in your system. It will hit the same network. You don't have to buy more infrastructure.
Okay.
And it's still going to end up and allow your utility to work smarter, not harder.
It just interface with the existing,
Absolutely.
whatever, within that parameters, it can interface
Yep.
in the same reading system.
And most companies
Monitor.
that will visit you can read meters. They
Mhm.
can't really expand more than that where our system can.
Question,
Yes, sir.
on, your system, question I have is, can, we get an alarm right off the bat? How soon can we get an alarm when there's a water leak?
Immediately.
Say, immediately?
Yes, sir.
And not within, like, say, 24
Can
hours?
you show in the customer portal?
Yeah.
Can you show in the customer?
And then, does that alarm also go to the customer or just the main office?
The customer can get alarms based on the end user portal at any time, and you define what criteria we use to notify you, or send WANA, or the board of directors of some kind of issue or opportunity, whatever it may be, with the network.
So immediately?
Two-way communication out to the node, almost immediate, yes.
The two-way communication also lets you do on-demand reads. So you can have a customer stand at the meter and call you and say, hey, you're not reading my meter. You can push a button and say it reads 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're like, oh yeah, it reads 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's on-demand reads. Also with our remote disconnect meter, you can push the button to say,
That's a
okay,
good
we
one.
need to disconnect this meter, and within a couple of minutes, the valve is shut down and the meter's shut off. Same thing with your reconnect.
So that's a perk of the system with an automatic disconnect or turn it back on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what we recommend on that remote disconnect meter is that, you look at your habitual non-pays, or because
The runs.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Okay.
It was mentioning about getting alarms, right? But how about if the transmitter is not keeping the memory? That's what we're having trouble with right now.
Right now.
With some of the transmitters. It's really,
So you
it's
got
not.
correlation issues, meaning that the register has one value and the endpoint has another?
That's correct.
Okay,
So that would be the question.
that's
They
the
said correlate
register,
also.
the Badger RTR, it's a great unit. But it's an incremental encoder, which means it counts clicks. So we're not using absolute encoded technology there, which represents the number wheels. In that environment with the RTR, it's a great unit, but if there is a weakness ever, it's usually that we didn't count all the clicks. So if you can imagine the sweep hand, there's 10 clicks for every resolution around the dial. So that means that the endpoint, the Orion endpoint that you have today, has to see all 10 of those clicks. If we miss a click or two in that process, it could represent 10 gallons, 100 gallons, or 1,000 gallons, depending on the size of the meter. That's inherent in more the encoded to the transmitter, and we use absolute encoders, which is what the industry also uses, which literally takes the number wheel value. We don't count clicks, for lack of a better term. We see the movement of the number wheel go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, which typically eliminates that difference or correlation. What you're more likely to see in the absolute encoded phase is you either get a good reading or you don't get a reading, you get a bad reading. You don't get this.
Well, we're getting the readings because the transmitter and the register is the same. But the memory for me is I get a customer to say, what happened? Where did you tell me that it started registering this much? It's not keeping that memory.
Oh, you're talking about the data profiling?
Yes.
Profile.
Okay, so we're
Yeah,
capturing the
So-
100 days or 200 days or whatever. We capture information too, but when you're talking about AMI systems, not drive-by like we're doing now, that information's coming to you, so you have
Right.
it right here sitting in your computer. You'll see those 24 hours of everyday usage, You won't have to go get those in an AMI system where we're using a collector-based system. But the module is still storing.
Yeah, the module in the PID or in there stores 105 days of hourly data. But, you know, one of the things it backs up is every night it backs up and it sends the information to your database. And so you have that all the time. Should something happen to that, it's already there in the database. So it's a backup. You should not have any kind of problem. Second part is we read the register rather than counting anything. So each time that reading is read, it updates it.
But I'm just asking, like, if it stops working, it doesn't keep the memory, will it notify us? That's what I want.
Well, you're going to get a notification because the system communicates every night with the unit. It gets 24 readings. So the most you could lose would be that, let's say someone goes out and damages the unit, breaks it or something like that. You would have received the information 24 hours ago, so that's in the database there. So that's probably your window of loss. If the unit was stolen, taken away, what's the loss that I would have, possibly? 24 hours would be there.
Another question, how far back does it store the information?
In the node for backup, it's 105 days of hourly data, and of course, for as long as you want, because it comes up every day, 24 hours a day, it comes up to the system. So if you want to store 5 years or 10 years back, you can store that data.
Thank you.
Another question.
Would it be fair to say that your memory depends on how strong the battery is?
I think the battery certainly determines how well we send the signal out, but the correlation between the register and the transmitter really is unless the encoder battery fails, then we may not push the signal to the transmitter.
And the reason I ask is that I think I read in your proposal that we'll get a low battery alert if the battery
You will.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's when we can jump ahead and address it, correct?
Absolutely. Hopefully 20 years from now, you'll see that.
And you'll get that, not 2 days before or a week before you get it.
No, I think-
You get it, I think it's
A year.
a year before, to start letting you know, so that you're not all at once having it.
I thought I read that.
Is all of this data stored in this location, or is it stored in your cloud?
In the cloud.
Okay, so we're just accessing the cloud to,
Get it, we could be in
So-
Hawaii today and we could.
so that building burns down, we still got all that data in the cloud.
Or we could be out on the beach. We could still say.
The information, though, the information is only available for 105 days?
No.
That's a no.
Limited once it comes to you. But
Yeah.
in the
Okay.
transmitter.
So we don't have to save that?
No.
No, it's
already
automatically saved.
It's in the cloud.
105 days in the node at the meter,
Correct.
and then that's backed up every 24 hours. And so, you know, theoretically, you could only lose 24 hours if somebody somebody stole it. But everything is automatically sent daily, just like batching out. Well, you don't have a credit card machine.
So on that 106th day, it's first in, first out. So the oldest set of information will leave us, and the newest information will replace it, so that we're always carrying 105 days past in hourly interval.
Got it, thank you.
On the radio, in the field, if you want to take it. It's unlimited, or at least 5 years, 10 years, whatever, if you want to store that data.
Got it.
So we're kind of touching on the remote disconnect meter. One of the great things that I think is a great feature for you guys is that this would work well for us because you're in a resort area. You probably have a lot of maybe move-ins, move-outs, or maybe someone's not staying there 4 months at a time or that type of thing. So if they have a remote disconnect meter, they can just call and let your customer service know, hey, we're leaving this day. We'd like the meter shut down until this day, and then bring it back up. So it's a great feature for this type of area with that type of scenario.
And at the same time, if they didn't want the meter turned off, they could still notify us that we're going to be gone for 6 months. And if we're looking at the system, we would expect that no usage flag to show up. But if we started seeing consumption, then we might have a personal alarm that we know that Doyle's gone to Hawaii, and we know he shouldn't be using water because he's not there, but we start seeing usage, then we could address it with Doyle. And better yet, Doyle would see it from Hawaii if he was using his end-user portal information.
And so that's an app that's available to the customers if they request it, I'm
Correct.
assuming.
They just sign up with their email, and it's something that we have entered into your system. Like it's something that we've already quoted you on. that's what breaking the rules, that it's available to your customers.
Thank you.
The other thing that we're capable of doing, and we're getting ready to do it with a couple of other utilities, is helping with the public relations, helping notify some of that information to the public so that they're maybe a little bit more comfortable with what's getting ready to take place. And we have some packets and some experience in helping utilities do that as well.
Introducing the upgrade, our possible upgrade to the public, and letting them know about what new features are available, basically, and
Mailers, door hangers, when we go in and do a meter change out, and some of those remedial things that need to take place, we're kind of already...
Disseminate the information.
Let them know that's available and how to sign up, those kind of things, and get going.
Sure.
Can they cut off their water themselves if they have the app?
With your valve, they can, but they can't
Okay.
go through the system. I don't think that they would be able to initiate.
So that would be a labor expense on our part,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, only prepay. If you signed up for a prepay, then you would, that's the way that's operated, so that we really don't let the consumer turn on and turn off the valve at will. It's still controlled by you. And if you say, I want this amount of water to be generated, then it will automatically shut off at that time.
But they could turn your corporation stop off at the meter at any time if they chose to.
Right.
do that.
What is the industry,
Yeah. You don't want them to do it, I understand.
Yeah, I don't.
what
we
does
don't
the,
get into that.
what does the
That's
industry
all.
do as far as, what does the industry do as far as paying staff to do that? It's a burden or labor on the district?
Go out?
No, not to go out, but just to call up and say, shut me off
To
for...
pay delinquent bill or.
No, to say, I'm gonna be gone for a week, cut me off and cut me on. So is there a service fee for that in the industry?
It would be Ron calling Doyle or whoever saying, I'm gonna be gone for 3 months, please shut down my water main.
Right, but we would call Minnie, they would contact her, and she would do that. And so I just asked if there was a service fee that, in the industry, there's not yet.
So if I might add,
You could propose
You can
one
do that.
for that.
right.
Utility could.
Yeah.
It's usually lower, because right now it's costing you $40 to go out and turn somebody on and turn somebody off for each trip in general. So now maybe that charge to call into customer support's only $5.
I think there's gotta be, we'll discuss this amongst ourselves, but yet, along with that, opportunity becomes responsibility. So they're gonna be calling back, hey, you didn't cut me off, or you cut me off too quick, and my wife's in the shower.
What do you charge today to, that has happened. What do you charge today if you have to go out and shut someone off? $50?
$45.
So I don't see that
But we
changing, you
don't
may raise it, but
We don't charge to disconnect, okay? We charge to connect.
We're talking about a service right now that we're doing, not a control, if you will. We're eating up your time, that's something
No, but I don't see that fee changing, right? Just because we're able to push a button and we don't drive, that just means more.
It's for savings, basically.
Absolutely.
So we're
I
not
don't see that
incurring to
changing.
that cost, that's what
Right.
it says.
Okay, but just to clear up, I think what your question is, if you request your meter to be cut off because for private repair or because you're going out of town, we don't have a fee for that. The only
Okay.
time there's a fee is you're on a cutoff list for non-payment.
Right.
And then you're gonna get reconnected. At that time, there's a fee.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
For any other reason, there isn't.
That makes perfect sense, and I would say that's what the industry's doing today.
So let me be clear, this software/hardware works with our existing hardware that we have in the ground currently.
Great question.
I just wanted to.
So you're referring to the meters, the existing meters? Okay,
Correct.
so let's talk about that just for a moment, because we expected that
Okay.
that might come up. Brand X, if you see on the screen, is literally any meter, Badger being one, Census, Neptune. The reality is our transmitter, wherever we have it, here, okay, can be, we'll call it retrofitted, because that's a term we use.
Got it.
I literally could offer this with a wire, an exposed wire, or I could offer it with a submersible connector, however you want to look at it. This piece can hook to any manufactured meter, with the stipulation of I have to have the appropriate encoded value out of the meter. Remember us talking about a counting type register? No one in the industry other than Badger Meter can retrofit that register. when we did our survey, we seen that you guys have both RTRs, recorded off transmitting registers, the county type register, but you also have the newer Badger HRE, high resolution encoder. That sends an ASCII2 is a term, but it's an encoded output. If it has an encoded output, the HRE or the ADE offered by Badger Meter, then we could connect to that. If it is an RTR, no one's going to connect to it. So the reality is where we see that happen, because it's your asset, is in the larger meters, because it costs more maybe to replace a large meter, or maybe you got to break concrete or do a lot to get that meter out. We see a lot of utilities concentrate more on retrofitting the bigger meters because they're harder to replace than maybe the residential meters, because they're a little easier and they're less expensive to go do. If we were recommending to the utility, we would say, please consider getting rid of the residential meters and creating a system that's not going to give you as much maintenance. Maybe it's cutting a wire, trying to splice wires together, trying to keep water out in a southern pit where there's water condensation and all the fun things that we get, because we've got to keep water out of that connection. In the larger meters, worst case scenario, you got a Badger meter with an RTR. What we would ask the utility to consider is you could buy the HRE from Badger Meter. We could go get it, but they'll charge us about this much money. Put that on the meter, and then we actually put our transmitter on top of that. So it's not the meter that we worry about, it's the encoder that drives whether we can connect to it. Does that make sense?
And just so you all know, I mean, since the system that we already have is obsolete, Badger is selling us those encoders, because that's the only way that they're going to be able to continue working with the system that we're trying to
They are moving away from the RTR.
Yes.
You're exactly correct.
Yes.
They will move forward with the HRE absolute encoded output.
Right.
So Ferguson's got just the little remote reader, or what's the blue part? Is that?
This is a register, encoded register.
That-
That is exactly what we're talking
That's
about.
already on our meters? Or is that something that's
Some of them
attached?
may have them. We don't think all of them have them.
Right.
And one comment maybe, maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like if we go with the existing Badgers, or if Badger is the company that's gonna do our work, we still have to change those old encoders anyhow.
I think you will. And you're also using integral. There's no wire, so this is just sitting here like this in the system. So the other element that we've got to deal with, quite frankly, as a utility is, if you look underneath the Badger shroud, there's a perforated piece to the shroud. You've got to rip that out. There's 3 foot of wire hidden up under their shroud that you've got to break this loose, pull it up. Now you've got to cut it off and put the new transmitter that they would be quoting you on there. So you still have this weak link of, I've got to keep moisture out from the encoded register to the endpoint. So regardless of whether you go with Badger or you bless us by going with Mueller, you're still going to have some of these issues that you're going to deal with. Probably more than you want to deal with.
In the interest of time,
Fine,
we're
yeah.
getting short, correct?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to cut you, but I really got excited when we talked before, Karen, and you were kind of hinting on some things, that there was some real savings opportunity for us going to this new system. And so I was wondering if you cared a little further on how we can pay for this process or conversion in some level. And then you even discussed at that time some financing opportunities in the district if we didn't have the cash available, that there could even though you're paying financing, it could be offset by the savings, et cetera. Can you help us out with some of that information?
We work with Government Capital, which I know that's in line, and you guys have worked with before. They offer to utilities a very low interest loan for projects such as this. They do this a lot, something that they're very involved in. We have seen some of the interest rates lower than Texas Water Board money at times.
Negative.
Yeah, so they're very good to work with, and they can we can customize it. You want a 7-year, 10-year, 15-year, so we can let you look at all those possibilities. Another thing too is with the time and labor savings. We also have leak detection, distribution side leak detection that can be brought into this vertical, and it correlates and helps you find leaks within a tables link, so that you can be proactive instead of reactive to leaks within your system, which helps you to capture non-revenue water. It helps you, so instead of digging up a whole city block to find a small leak, you can just dig up where the leak is. You can decide if you want to address it as it starts or if it's getting bigger. So it gives you the ability to manage your system on the leak side of repairs and those type things. So that will help you capture and save money through the system.
And I'll speak real quick because we don't have much time. Also, by changing the meter, there's an opportunity for revenue. There may be a percentage of accuracy that we're losing out at the end user that will come back up to a 98.5 to 101.5 AWWA standards by changing the meter.
And you had a chance to visit with staff and kind of get some of the costs associated with our meter reading system now, apart, separate from the breakdowns and issues. And so I'm hoping that you can bring something to us that shows that, you know, there's some savings. I'm looking for a spreadsheet that shows kind of like we're blowing money now, how we can save money with this program. Not just the convenience, but just...
In a couple of meetings, we talked about that we have some larger meters on the island that are quite old. The accuracy, we're not sure, you know, concerns about the accuracy and, you know,
Loss of revenue.
Some of your larger meters are where a lot of your revenue is.
Loss of revenue and then added expense for maintenance and repair.
Maintenance and repair.
And reading.
Time spent, yes.
And you guys send somebody out to drive by to...
Read and putting those people on that gives you less time to put them on the repairs and maintenance and things to keep your system up and running efficiently. So solving the problem over here with the meter reading and cutting time down on that helps you have more time to address other issues, which will also help.
Is the leak detection an added cost? Is it an added cost?
The leak detection is an add-on vertical that we can look at later, but everything else we talked about has already been included.
I'll take 10 seconds of your 1 minute left, and that would be asked, and since you do have a local presence, that, you know, I'm fascinated by all of this. So we get an opportunity to visit with y'all again, to devote the time necessary to really explore all the opportunities together. Is that possible? Get together again.
We were hoping to get a...
Workshop is adjourned. We'll resume in regular meeting at 5:30 p.m. Thank you very much for your time and effort, everyone being here this evening. Both present.